Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metropolis Radio, and today, when I release this video, the premiere of the third season of the Orville will have dropped on Hulu. And I believe that this is an important distinction to make, because this article that I'm about to read from CBR, Comic Book Resources, was written a few weeks prior to the release of the season 3 premiere of the Orville. The reason I'm making the video now is because I do think it is a rather interesting topic to still talk about, despite it being a few weeks old, and that is why Seth MacFarlane might want to end the Orville. Now, I know there's some people that might have clicked on this that are huge fans of the Orville. So am I. I'm really looking forward to this new season. But let's actually hear out the entire argument before we jump down anyone's throat here. The Orville New Horizons is almost here. As this video is released, the Orville season 3 would have already released at least the first episode. But creator and star Seth MacFarlane might want to end his Star Trek inspired series for a good reason. June means that the Orville will return from almost a 3-year hiatus. The science fiction project was the first live-action series creator and star Seth MacFarlane did for Fox, later Hulu, and the series is clearly a passion project for him. Even so, the Family Guy creator may want to consider ending the Orville after season 3, and there's pretty good reason why. The Orville launched on Fox in fall 2017, 2 weeks before the debut of Star Trek Discovery. By the end of that season, the Orville felt more like Star Trek the original series than Discovery did. Despite the boom in sci-fi storytelling across film and television in the past 15 years, the Orville was the first quote-unquote hopeful future story in a long time. What made Star Trek unique amongst the sci-fi franchises in the late 20th century was that its future was one people wanted to live in, and MacFarlane filled that space with his series. 5 years later, fans now expect the latest season of the show, now called The Orville New Horizons, to be its last. Deadline reported in April that the cast has been released from the contracts, while MacFarlane is developing a number of other projects. While season 3 is not designed as a final run, the behind-the-scenes writing seems to be on the wall, but why would MacFarlane walk away from a project that he cared so much about? Perhaps the reason for ending the Orville is similar to the reason MacFarlane created it. In the last 5 years, Star Trek has made a comeback. The recent Star Trek Strange New Worlds definitely feels like an original series type show. That is the author's opinion, not my own. I have not watched a single episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds yet, and I don't know when I'm going to get to that show. Even the aforementioned Discovery struck a much more hopeful tone from season 2 onward. The space that the Orville once occupied alone has quickly become more crowded. The Orville has also turned into more of its own franchise. With the help of Star Trek The Next Generation veteran producer Brandon Braga, the Orville tried to tackle social issues with varying degrees of success. It also developed its own mythology and lore, with the militantly religious Krill and the fascist Kaylon races plaguing the Planetary Union. It has creative space for its own spin-offs, especially with its move to Hulu, which is invested in programming both original and paying a quote-unquote an insane amount for Schitt's Creek. But that potential for expansion and longevity also, ironically, serves another reason to call it quits. MacFarlane's other projects include voicing multiple characters for Family Guy on Fox and American Dad on TBS. He's developing a series for Peacock based on his Ted movies about a foul-mouthed sentient teddy bear. His NBC Universal development deal was for over $200 million, according to The Hollywood Reporter, so his schedule is not going to slow down anytime soon. He may not be able to devote all the time needed to lead the Orville on and off camera, especially now that it's competing with Star Trek. MacFarlane's passion project would soon become this big thing that needs constant attention, and is always fighting to stay even with or surpass the franchise that inspired it. Even if he were to pass the show on to other producers and relinquish that part of his duties, filming a live-action series is a large time commitment. MacFarlane may feel it's better for the series to end strong rather than wither away, but all hope is not lost for fans who want more of the Orville. As mentioned above, Season 3 is not definitively final. Hulu is leaving the door open for MacFarlane to return, although the cast would have to sign new contracts. Especially if the new season does well, the streamer may be willing to negotiate an intermittent deal where there are new seasons every few years, or even a series of standalone movies. A great example of this is Hulu's other sci-fi acquisition, Futurama. The show turned into a series of TV movies, and the first one actually improved the series. Their personal opinion, I haven't watched the Futurama movies in a long time, so I'm not going to really comment on their quality. Thanks to premium cable channels and streaming services, TV isn't made the way it used to be. Perhaps if MacFarlane can work on his own schedule, he may still be able to make his passion project to the level of quality that he and the fans expect, and find another unique space for the series to flourish in. Even if it doesn't continue past season 3, the Orville created its own reputation as a special piece of science fiction. And I will give it that it did really evolve beyond a love letter to Star Trek, and actually developed its own mythos. But I do like this idea here, is that, season 3 is not the final season, and the proposed solution of you can just do a season every few years, or hell, even a series of standalone movies. Doctor Who, during David Tennant's run, there famously was not a 4th season for David Tennant. Instead, there were 4 standalone made-for-TV movies, and those movies were The Next Doctor, The Waters of Mars, Planet of the Dead, and The End of Time, which The End of Time was actually a 2-parter. So technically there were 5 standalone movies, but I consider The End of Time to be just one movie, because that was meant to be the finale for David Tennant's Doctor and bring in Matt Smith. So I like the idea of doing a series of standalone movies, because then there isn't all this pressure that you have to, stretch out storylines to fill out an entire season. You can just come back and do just like 4 or 5 standalone movies every few years, and still keep the Orville going. Especially with how the show is now set up, Seth MacFarlane with the Orville has now created his own Dominion war with the Kaylon versus the Planetary Union. Why the hell would he want it to stop at season 3? Why not come back every couple of years? Because what that also forces writers to do, if they can only come back every 2 or 3 years, is they have to cut out the crap. If they are only coming back every 2 or 3 years, they have to make those seasons. They have to make those seasons be the best that they can make them. They have to make those seasons feel special, even if those seasons only contain like 4 or 5 standalone movies. You still have to make them good, because you're only coming back every 2 or 3 years. So, while it's a good thing that you're providing all the space, that way you can focus on quality, it can also act as a pressure point that you may not bounce back from. But should the Orville end after season 3? In my opinion, no. Some of you guys may be feeling different, so let me know your thoughts down in the comments, how you feel about the Orville. Should the Orville truly end after season 3, or should they try to bring it back every few years because of what the show is set up to do, and the fact that it now has its own Dominion war? I don't think it's going to take I don't think it's going to take only one more season to solve. I think you still have quite a few years that you can go, but that's just my opinion. I'm curious to hear what's yours, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video right here. If you guys stuck around this long, thanks so much for doing so. And if you've been following me along, I'm terrible at ending these videos, so I'll just see you guys next time.